Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Azam Khan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. President Xi Jinping praises Jiang Zemin as China observes 3 minutes of silence for the late leader. Students in Hong Kong also tune in to Jiang Zemin's memorial service from classrooms and school halls. And Cathay Pacific flight attendants threaten strike and demand better working conditions. China has paid tribute to former President Jiang Zemin with a state funeral at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. In a lengthy eulogy, President Xi Jinping credited Jiang for leading China out of a difficult period and into an era of economic growth. Chloe Feng reports.
追悼大会开始，默哀。
President Xi Jinping and Politburo members were among thousands who gathered at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing for a final sending off of former leader Jiang Zemin. Jiang's successor Hu Jintao and former Premier Zhu Rongji, however, were not seen at the service. At 10 o'clock, everyone bowed and observed 3 minutes of silence. One day after his cremation, Jiang's ashes were placed in a casket draped in the Communist Party flag, while floral wreaths lined the stage. Jiang's widow, Wang Yeping, was seen overcome by emotions. The 94-year-old was given a wheelchair, but others remained standing as she delivered his eulogy.
极其沉痛的悼念敬爱的 Jiang Zemin 同志.
The president expressed sorrow for losing a great figure, describing Jiang as a great Marxist and a diplomat who dedicated his life to the country, helping China gain respect among the international community.
20世纪80年代末
He also recalled Jiang's political career, including his rise to power in 1989, just weeks after the Tiananmen crackdown. Jiang was entrusted with a mission at a critical and difficult moment, she said. He unswervingly upheld the principles of socialism, opened up the country with economic reforms, and defended national stability. She also credited Jiang for China's admission into the World Trade Organization. On national sovereignty, the leader oversaw smooth handovers of Hong Kong and Macau, and fostered a cross-strait agreement known as the 1992 Consensus, which states that there's only one China. Residents across China also mourned the former leader in their own ways. Sirens echoed across cities from Beijing, Changchun to Hangzhou as people stood in silence on the streets and in trains. Trading of securities, bonds, and other commodities was suspended across the country for 3 minutes. Sports facilities and public entertainment venues were also shut for 1 day. As he wrapped up his speech, Xi joined the crowd and bowed 3 times before Jiang's remains. The International, the anthem of the socialist movement back in 1800s, was then played to mark the end of the hour-long service. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
In Hong Kong, government officials, judges, and lawmakers all mourned the former Chinese leader by watching the live broadcast and observing a moment of silence. Janice Lowe reports.
Chief Executive John Lee, along with members of his cabinet and the Executive Council, gathered at government headquarters to watch the live broadcast of the memorial service for Jiang Zemin. As the clock struck 10 a.m., about 100 people in the hall observed 3 minutes of silence. Apart from top officials, all civil servants were told to pause work at the same time and pay tribute to the former Chinese leader. Over at the Legislative Council, President Andrew Leung and over 60 other lawmakers tuned in to the commemoration at the main lobby. But there were a few notable absentees, including DAB Chairwoman Starry Lee, as well as Kwok Wai-keung from the Federation of Trade Unions. The two veteran lawmakers are still undergoing isolation after contracting COVID. Teck Chi-yun, the only non-establishment councillor, did not show up as well.
有啲議員呢，係有公務在身呢，係不能出席。
Leung explained that some council members were unable to turn up due to other engagements. Judges and judicial staff also observed 3 minutes silence at courthouses at 10 a.m. At the Court of Final Appeal, Chief Justice Andrew Jiang and other top judges mourned Jiang's passing. The first state leader to pass away in 25 years, and the first since the Hanover and Hong Kong, prompted citywide commemorations of the highest honor. Government vessels also lined up along Victoria Harbour and sounded their horns. Trading did not pause at the stock exchange, unlike its mainland counterpart. Still, giant screens outside its central base briefly stopped displaying market data. Community centres across Hong Kong also opened their doors to the public. Home Affairs Minister Alice Mak was among 300 or so people who watched the live broadcast in Sao Mau Ping.
The former President Jiang Zemin, he focused mainly on the welfare of our general public. And that is why I choose to come here to watch the live broadcast with our residents, to remember his contributions to the opening up of our country.
Others turned in to the hour-long ceremony inside shopping malls.
好難過咯，因為佢係一個好好嘅人。
I feel very sad because Jiang was a very nice person, the 70-year-old woman said. Janice Low, HKIBC.
A number of schools across the city also arranged commemoration events to mourn the passing of Jiang Zemin. School heads felt they could use the chance to instill a sense of patriotism among students. Macy Mock has the story.
At the stroke of 10 a.m., students at this primary school in Tin Shui Wai stopped classes to observe 3 minutes of silence. A live broadcast of Jiang Zemin's memorial service was played in the classroom.
個腦都諗住江澤民先生嘅。
This student said he was thinking about Jiang during the ceremony.
好懷念江澤民先生啦。
Another young student said he missed the former leader.
好好嘅機會係塑造返個愛國情懷。
School principal Hong Wai-sheng said the commemoration was a great chance for students to enhance their sense of patriotism. He insisted the brief stoppage did not hinder the learning progress of the students. While the Education Bureau said participation was voluntary, many schools made arrangements for students to mourn the former leader. At this secondary school in Ho Man Tin, students gathered at the hall for a 90-minute ceremony. Teachers also explained Jiang's achievements and played video clips of Jiang's old photos, as well as lowered the national flag at half-mast. Before everyone bowed at 10 a.m. to mourn in silence.
Although time is quite long, but it's still worth it since it's quite important to all of us, all Hong Kong people, or the whole Chinese people. I learned him from different social media and also from my parents. Yeah, so it's quite sad and to hear this news.
咁同學生亦都有介紹過江主席一啲生平。
School principal Wang Qingyong said students were taught about Jiang's life over the past week. He hoped they can learn from the former leader on how to contribute to the nation. The Education Bureau has ordered schools providing local curriculum across the city to suspend all celebrations and entertainment activities today. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
In other news, passengers of Cathay Pacific may see disruptions to their holiday travel plans after the Flight Attendants Union threatens industrial action. The group says its members are not given enough rest between flights, but the airline insists the issue will be temporary. Janice Lowe reports.
As flight bookings surge ahead of the holiday season, those serving passengers on board now complain they're not reaping the benefits. The Cathay Pacific Flight Attendants Union is threatening industrial action after accusing management of depriving them of adequate rest between flights. It said a reduction in manpower after COVID meant less attendance on each flight. They also no longer enjoy a day off after a long-haul journey, and many were told to fly same-day round trips, making them ineligible for outport allowances. As a result, the union said some flight attendants are earning a base salary of $9,100 per month. It called a meeting today after months of demand for better conditions fell on deaf ears. Union members eventually authorized the executive committee to launch a strike or work to rule.
We do have 100% agree for whatever union is going to take for the next motion. So we have fully support from our members. But what's next action is we need to discuss and then well plan more.
She insisted a strike will be the last resort. In response, Cathay said the roster arrangements are temporary as the company is restructuring its flight network. It promised to address most of the union's demands next month and maintain normal operations. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
Overseas, Indonesia has passed a new criminal code which bans premarital sex. Under the revised law, it is also illegal for unmarried couples to live together. The new law applies to Indonesians and foreigners alike. Offenders are punishable by up to a year in prison, but only a spouse, parents, or children can file a report. The head of the Parliamentary Commission in charge of the revision defended the move, saying the criminal code has to keep up with the times. But human rights groups denounced it as socially regressive, and businesses are worried it will harm the country's reputation as a tourism destination. A fresh wave of missiles targeting Ukraine's power grid has left many civilians without electricity or running water under freezing weather. Meanwhile, Moscow has accused Kiev of launching drone attacks at its two air bases hundreds of kilometers from the border. Vladimir Putin has long asserted himself as a tough and overbearing figure. The Russian president doubled down on his masculine image in the latest clip from the Defense Ministry. Putin was seen behind the wheel as his entourage crossed the Crimean bridge. He was heard instructing officials to speed up with repairs, referring to an explosion in October, which caused a section of the bridge to collapse. The 19-kilometer bridge, spanning the Kerch Strait, is seen as a symbol of Russia's control over Crimea, which it annexed in 2014. His visit to the peninsula comes as Ukraine reported a fresh barrage of Russian missiles yesterday. That included Kupiansk, a district not far from the Russian border, which was retaken by Ukrainian forces back in September. Red Cross volunteers said they have received more requests for assistance to evacuate the area. After daily shelling to critical infrastructure, much of Kupiansk is now without power, making lives even more difficult for residents who have had to brave sub-zero temperatures. In a separate development, the Russian military said it had shot down 2 Ukrainian drones attempting to strike Russian air bases in the Saratov region. Videos circulating online showed large explosions at the Engels air base in Saratov, hundreds of kilometers from Ukraine's border. Hopes of the Hong Kong benchmark returning to 20,000 points were dashed as the momentum from yesterday's rally fizzled out. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 77 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tencent closed down $2.20. Alibaba closed down $2.80. Ping An closed down $1.30. JD.com closed down $5.80. Forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar. The euro is at 8.1, and the Canadian dollar is at 5.71. Now over in the UK, the London FTSE is down 19 points. Onto the weather now, a mix of cloudy, sunny periods on a dry day tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 17 and 22 degrees. The pleasant conditions will continue into next week. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Azam Khan. Thanks for watching. Good night.